Today, we'll look at Claude, probably the hottest AI right now. Stick around if you're curious about what this more than a chatbot offers and why everyone's talking about it. In this video, I'll show you the full cloud environment, from this web version to the desktop app and advanced features like cowork. First, let's talk about why Claude exactly. You see, it's not just another chatbot in the lineup. If we look at the LM arena, we see Claude models currently leading in the two most watched leaderboards, text and coding, and I think that says it all. So if you're here, you're likely in the right place. Let's take a look at how Claude works. We'll start with the simplest part. The web version of Claude is available at Claude AI. The interface is real clean and clear. You have the classic prompt window, history here on the left, and so on. No unnecessary distracting elements. It's very similar to ChatGPT or Gemini. But if you want to get the most out of Claude, I recommend moving to the desktop version, which has great extra features. The desktop version is available for both Mac OS and Windows, and you can download it at claude.com/download. I'll be using this desktop version throughout today's tutorial because it has one major advantage. Besides the classic chat, it has a cowork section, which you see up here in the menu. An AI that can work directly with your computer for you. When you open the desktop app and log in, you'll see chat, cowork, and code at the top. We'll start with the chat section, which will most remind you what many of you already know from ChatGPT, Gemini, or Grok. The first thing you'll notice is the option to choose a model. You have Opus 4.6, Sonnet 4.6, and Haiku 4.5. Opus 4.6 is the strongest, most intelligent model. It's ideal for complex tasks, deep analysis, heavy programming, or working with massive amounts of data. However, it's slower and consumes more of your limit. Sonnet 4.6 is the default. It's a great middle ground option. It's faster than Opus, cheaper, and yet achieves comparable quality in many tasks. For most everyday work, Sonnet is perfectly sufficient, and I also use it as my primary model most of the time. And currently, it's the default model even for free users, meaning those who don't pay for Claude at all. And then we have Haiku 4.5. It's the fastest and cheapest model. It's ideal for simple tasks, quick answers, and summaries. If it's not complicated, save your limits by using Haiku. And then we also have this extended thinking feature. When I turn it on, I'm enabling extended thinking. With this setting, Claude first goes through the entire problem step by step in its head before answering. It takes longer, but the result is higher quality. This is worth turning on for more complex tasks. With Claude, just like other chatbots, classic prompting works. You write a task and it generates a response. For example, I'll enter a task, write a fictional story about the future in a world of AI and quantum computers in 2040. I'll choose Model 4.6 and send it. And as you can see, it's working and spitting out an answer for me. We won't dwell on this. Let's go to the projects section. If you know GPTs in ChatGPT or GEMS in Gemini, this is a very similar concept, just better executed in my opinion. We often refer to these as AI assistants. It's basically an environment where you create these assistants for repetitive processes you do often. So let's go ahead and create a project. I'll click on New Project, name it, for example, Post for X, and add a description. It generates posts for Twitter for me, and I'll create it. A settings window will open up for me. I'll click on the option to add instructions, a window opens, and I'll paste this instruction here. I'm a Slovak AI YouTuber focused primarily on artificial intelligence, and I want you to generate posts in Slovak from my X Twitter account from texts I'll paste here. I'm attaching samples of my previous posts from X so you know my writing style, and I'll save the instructions. Now, in the Files section, I'll upload this document from my computer where I've copied my post from X, so it knows how I write. Of course, you can upload many more files there for other projects. For me, uploading this is enough, as this is just a simple example. And basically, I'm all done. We can go ahead and test it. For the test, I'll copy this news from Google DeepMind's X and paste it here and send it. And now the model starts working. And there we go. I have a generated post that I can take over to X. This is a huge time saver, and anyone not using projects, gems, or GPTs is making a big mistake. Let's go to the artifacts section. Through this section, you can basically create small apps from simple prompt instructions. We don't even have to be in the artifacts section. We can go directly through the chat. Now, I'll come up with a task. Create a simple tool for learning English. I'll give you a Slovak word and you'll generate an English translation. Use the word in a simple sentence and an English sentence describing the word. Finally, add at least one more synonym in English. Give it a nice professional look in the style of Apple graphics. And I'll send it. He understood he needs to program, so the coding gets underway. and it's done. I see that I have a beautiful app right here on the right. Let's test it out. I'll type the word scooter, for example, and send it. And it shows us some kind of error. So I'll type fix the error in the prompt, and I've copied it there. Let's see if it can handle it. It promises to fix it, so we'll see. It says it should work now, so let's test it. I'll type in scooter. And now I have a generated response. I have the English translation, the word in a sentence, an English description, synonyms, everything I wanted. And if I like the artifact, I'll click either download or publish in the top right. Then I can go ahead and copy that link. And then you'll find that artifact in the artifacts section under your artifacts, and there it is. Let's go to the next section, customize, and we have the skills and connectors tabs here. First, let's go to connectors. This is how you connect Claude with external applications. For example, as you can see here, I have it connected to Canva, Gamma, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and Slack. So what does that mean? Simply that when I ask Claude something in the chat about, say, Google Calendar, it'll answer me. For example, I'll ask it when my next English class is. I'll set it, and it searched through my Google Calendar, and it found the right answer. I have it on Friday. One important note. For each connector, you can set the level of permissions. You can see that right here on the right. And those modes are always allowed, needs approval, or blocked. Where, for example, this needs approval command means that for every action, Claude will ask you for permission. I recommend starting cautiously, especially when it comes to writing or deleting files. Now, let's quickly look at the skills section. This is a relatively new feature in Claude as well, but it can be essential. Think of skills as special instruction packages that Claude only loads when you need them. So instead of explaining to Claude every time how to do a specific task, you create a skill and Claude will then be able to use it whenever it's relevant to your task. Let me know if you're interested in a more detailed guide for this section. If this video gets at least 500 likes, I'll make it. If not, I'll see. But now let's move on to the most interesting section. Let's go into Claude Cowork. This is something that neither ChatGPT nor Gemini has yet. Cowork is an AI that doesn't just work in a chatbot window, but directly with your computer. This means it can read your files, create or delete documents, organize folders, and so on. However, one important note, it's still in beta, meaning it's under development. Cowork is also only available in the desktop version and only for paid plans. Let's take a look. When we have Cowork open, we see a simple interface with a text field. At the bottom, there's an important work in folder option, which means you choose which folder Claude should work in, like the download section or documents, applications, or the Claude workspace section, for example, which I created for Claude's purposes. So, for example, I'll select the download section and allow Claude to work with this part of my disk. Here too, you can choose the model, Opus, Sonnet, or Haiku. Usually using the Sonnet model is enough, so let's try it out. I'll give Claude a prompt regarding that downloads folder. Look into my downloads folder. Go through all the files and suggest an organization plan, what folder categories to create, how to divide the files, what naming to use, and which files should be deleted or archived. Don't modify anything yet, just show me the plan and wait for my approval. And I'll send it and it'll start working. Well, after about 3 minutes, it generated a complete organization plan for the downloads folder, suggesting regrouping various files into easy to navigate sections. But what I really like is that it also suggested deleting some files that are duplicates. For example, delete here, the original exists. So it not only organizes your folder, but also saves space. And if I wanted to, I just confirm in the reply for it to carry it out. But watch out. Always check what it suggests, because if you approve a deletion, it really will delete it. And if you didn't check and it's an important file, you could lose it. Let's go to another interesting section, scheduled or planning. It's another folder that distinguishes Cowork from a classic chat. It works really simply. I'll click to create a new task. Name, for example, calendar event summary, description, for example, quick summary of important meetings, and prompt, every morning at 8, create an overview of today's Google Calendar events, include unread Gmail emails, and save it as a morning overview file on the desktop. I'll select the model, pick a folder for it to work with, if needed, and the frequency, and then save it. Claude will perform these tasks automatically, but keep in mind, only when the app is actually running. So if you have it scheduled for the night, but the desktop app is closed, it won't do anything. As you can see, for example, I use a daily email summary here. Just like in the chat, Cowork has a customized section, and then we have connectors and skills. When I click on connectors, I see that I'm paired through Cowork with several cool apps: Canva, Gamma, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and Slack. This means that in Cowork, you can, for instance, read Slack messages, pull calendar data, and then use that to create a document on your computer, all in a single task. And well, here's the skills section too. As I mentioned before, I'll make a tutorial for skills if there's enough interest. Now, let's head to the finale. The final section is Claude Code. This is something that I personally haven't touched yet. It's basically a tool primarily for programmers, but powered by AI. So a programmer gradually becomes more of a coding manager than someone writing code by hand. Claude Code works directly with code, can run scripts, work with Git repositories, test, and debug. It looks incredibly cool. For me though, it's still just a homework assignment. But if anyone here uses Claude Code, I'd love for you to leave some feedback in the comments below for others. And just a quick note, those coding models from Claude really are the best. Well, that was a complete overview of Claude today. And that's really all for now. If you like my content about AI and futuristic technologies, thanks for the like, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.